In today's episode, we're going to focus on seniors. This is a crazy, crazy journey and adventure, and for many seniors this time of year, they're in total freak out mode. They've got college applications that are just around the corner, and they're really worried. Is it going to happen for me? Should I just be focusing on academics instead of on volleyball? So Sam and I want to emphasize being patient, and I'm going to let Sam take over for here to really get into detail from a college coach's perspective on what goes on this time of year for you guys.
Sure. So I just got back from actually serving as a tournament director at a volleyball tournament out in New Hampshire, great high-level D2 volleyball tournament, and I can tell you that all those coaches there, it was opening weekend, their focus was on their teams and playing matches and seeing where they are with the season. And so did I talk some recruiting with these coaches? Absolutely. Is that their number one priority at the moment? Absolutely not. And so again, the patient piece is really, really important here. You just had opening weekend, going into week 2. You got Division 3s opening this weekend. Obviously, NAIAs, JUCOs have already opened as well. And so these couple weeks, they're trying to figure out their teams. School started. Are kids in the right classes? Do they need to change classes? Are they in the right amount of hours so they can keep playing now that we're in a season of competition? All that stuff, dealing with homesickness. You know, you have all your newbies that are there and getting adjusted. All that stuff is going on. So coaches have a lot on their plate. Meetings, unexpected meetings, compliance meetings. So know that when you don't hear back from somebody right away, it's okay. So we talk about being patient. That is super, super important. However, you need to be very persistent in this communication, in this process. Send a text to the coaches saying, good luck this upcoming weekend. Let them know how your seasons are going. You know, let them know that you just started school. You have upcoming matches. You might not hear back from them. That doesn't mean that they're not reading that and seeing that and appreciative of what you're doing. So you really need to be very proactive with that and maintain that consistent communication. I'm going to promise you that things change during the season for coaches, for the college coaches. What their team looks like today could be very different come November. And so needs might change, things happen. And so what they need today could very well change in 2 weeks, could very well change in 3 months. And I promise you that there's going to be places for you out there. So that's why you need to be very persistent with how you're reaching out to the coaches and being persistent with that communication.
Yeah, let's talk about that. I mean, you were a college coach for 20 years. Yes. This time of year, I mean, obviously you went into detail about all the different challenges and things that you face as a college coach in terms of time management, organization, you know, preparing your team. But maybe you can talk a little bit more and reflect on, you know, in this first opening weekend as you're putting your lineup out and you're really trying to evaluate as a college coach, what goes into their mind and what do you think that they're thinking?
Yeah, so I mean, again, like you have, you know, did you travel? So you have that whole piece of traveling for the first time, and even if you hosted at home, hosting at home can be, quite frankly, way more painful than going out on the road because there's all these logistics. And even if you have a great staff helping you, you're still concerned that it's going to be a great event and you want it to be a great event so people are going to come back in the future. So you got that. You know, what lineup are you going to go with? How do players respond? Do you put new people in when something's not going well? How do your players respond to that, and how are you managing all of that? And then you got pregame meals and postgame meals, and you have scouting reports, and you're scouting the teams you're going to be playing because you haven't been able to really do a scouting report because nobody's played up until this point. So there's all these facets that go into it that you, quite frankly, are dealing with. You know, are jerseys ready? Is equipment ready? Is the net all set up? Is the gym all ready? And so those are the things that are going through these coaches' mind, quite frankly. And then when you get to the game, like that, quite frankly, that's actually the easy part because you can just sit there and coach your teams and you're excited about that piece and wanting your team to celebrate. And then, of course, you know, like if you win, great. If you lose, maybe not so great. You're still celebrating because it's still a young part of the season, but there are going to be emotions that you have to deal with, and then you have to start thinking about the following week and getting ready for that week. Or some teams have a midweek match. They might be playing today and they might be playing tomorrow, and so dealing with all of that. So just that perspective of what goes on a daily basis and the scheduling and practices and watching film. And now you're getting into a scouting piece because you have film of not only yourself, but you're going to have film of your future opponents. And so there's a whole nother scouting piece that comes into play. There's just, there's only so many hours in the day. And then, Kara did a great piece yesterday on September 1st with the Division I recruiting rules. Well, I promise you that coaches are going to be thinking about the recruiting piece this weekend because it's September 1. But probably until then, they're still thinking about this young season and getting their players ready and keeping their players healthy and making sure that they're doing everything they need to do to be the best player and teammate on the court for their team as they progress into the second weekend.
I think it's important to point out that injuries happen, that you start to size up your team a little bit and you start to figure out what's working, what's not working.
Yes.
Like you said, who you start out with isn't necessarily who you end up with
Correct.
at the end of the season, or you would hope it's not who you end up with at the end of the season.
Right.
But as a senior, going back to being a senior, just realizing that so many of these changes, so many of these conversations are taking place, coaches are starting to see where they have holes. And so by being persistent, as Sam said, being aggressive with your campaign, but also taking some time to, stay relaxed, be patient, and continue to be confident. I want to go back to an athlete that we worked with this last season. Mm-hmm. I think she might have been our last athlete to commit.
I think so, yes.
This particular athlete ended up having 6 Division I offers. Does that sound about right?
Correct.
Made her final decision, but didn't make her decision until May. Obviously, that's not what you want. We know that.
Yes.
Your family knows that.
Yes.
But knowing that an athlete who was not particularly heavily recruited by the end of club season had 6 major Division I offers. Yes. And so by being patient, by watching what's going on during the season, by paying attention, there's going to be coaching changes, which I know we'll talk more about as we get to that time of year where it starts to completely unfold and you start to see everything fall apart. It's really sad for our friends in the industry, but things happen. And so really being diligent and patient and persistent is such an important thing to do this time of year as a senior. Just don't panic.
Yeah, I mean, you can't get frustrated when you don't hear back from people, and I think that's super, super important. When you're, especially for a lot of the new head coaches that are out there at any level, you think you have your day planned out. You go in and you have a game plan of what you want to do, and sometimes some people get there early so they can have quiet time and get some stuff done because they know that somebody's going to come in, somebody's going to ask for your time, your players are going to want to talk to you. You got to prep for practice, then you have practice in the middle of the afternoon, then after practice gets done, another player or two is going to come into your office or the athletic trainer because something happened or to give you an update. So when you think you have this time carved out for yourself, it doesn't work that way. And until you're in those shoes, you just don't understand that. And it's it's a head coach thing, but it's also an assistant coach thing as well, because they have other things that they're worrying about. They're full-fledged into scouting, making sure travel plans are done again, all of that. So just a reminder of that piece, just to keep that in mind. But know that people are excited when they do hear from their people, and they're going to get back in touch with you. And again, you just can't be like, well, I don't hear anything, so what does that mean? You have to be persistent, and everybody has their own journey. And yes, I know we want it right away, but that doesn't always happen that way. And again, Kara and I are going to always preach about how important the fit is and not settling. Mm-hmm. So finding that right place and finding that right fit, school, academics, volleyball, social, location, size, that is so still important. And I promise you, we talk about this all the time, it's going to work out. Mm-hmm. So as a reminder, it's okay to take a deep breath, okay? But keep sending those updates too, because I think that's super, super important, because if you don't do that and you drop off the face of the earth, then those coaches might think that you aren't interested anymore.
We've just found in our experience that the more proactive, the more persistent and consistent that our athletes have been, the more opportunities that have been presented to them. And so, as we work with our own clients through the journey, our goal is to help them stay on track. it's still their journey. They still have to take ownership. They still have to be proactive. So there are things that obviously Sam and I can do collectively as a team in terms of, you know, reaching out to coaches and talking to them. But we also keep into consideration everything that they have going on in their own lives and try to be somewhat respectful this time of year. That's why we hit the road. That's why we get into the gym and try and watch them play so that we can, you know, get some me time or that one-on-one time where we can kind of check in and see how things are going for them from a recruiting perspective.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
If you have any questions, we'd love to hear from you. You can hit us up on the DM at VBallRecruiter on Instagram or send us a message on Facebook on our My Recruiting Solutions page. Our website is myrecruitingsolutions.com, and we're really fired up about this fall season. Good luck, you guys, and stay calm. Thank you.